What if the problem wasn't you? What if it was just the way these instructions were written? This video is a continuation from the last video where we walked through how to read the sewing instructions. Now I want to show you how to take those long paragraphs and turn them into simple, clear steps so you can actually follow along without second guessing yourself. This builds directly on what we just covered in the previous video about reading sewing instructions. So how I would bullet these, I wouldn't actually go through and rewrite anything, but I kind of wrote up a sheet like this, how I would go. Like the instructions 8, I would go, make darts in front, press folds of darts towards center, stitch front to back at sides. So these are their same words. Make darts in front 2, that's the pattern. Press folds, so then just bullet those. So that would be really simple. So that would be the darts or the bullets there. In number 12 right here, they have a paragraph that really has a lot of words, right? In that little cubbyhole, there's a lot going on there. So I broke it down into pin facing to skirt, right sides together, matching notches, center front and side seams, back edges of facing, extend 5/8 of an inch right there. And it says adjust ease, that's just working the pattern through. You might have a gather stitch in there or ease stitch and making it fit. So it's saying that this isn't it's sometimes when you have a curved going over another curve, you have to kind of make it work. Then it says based right here. So that's like a whole nother step. That's what I already skips over that based. Then it says stitch upper edge. And then it says trim seam allowances. So there's 5 little sections all in that one little paragraph. So if you don't really want to have to bullet these out, but what you can do is just go through, okay, adjust ease, based, stitch upper edge, there, trim seam allowance. So I would do like that, and that would also, even at the press part, so just circle press. Go through it with another red pen. Sometimes you can use 2 different color pens. I'll circle it everywhere it says changing the seam allowances, although that doesn't happen a lot, so that's a good thing, but it does. And then if you don't see that, you might, it could actually change the whole sizing of how things are going to fit on the other part. So if you don't do your seam allowances 5/8 like it says, it's not going to fit the other part that it has to fit to later. So the seam allowances are really important. So if it says 1/4 inch seam allowance, so it's not going to fit something else like that. So that's how you can, if they wrote them like this, if I were writing instructions, this is how I would write them out. That's because I've been working with students for 14, 15 years, and I see where they get caught up. And if you just bullet point them, then you could just go through and then just do a little check mark if you had to do that, and then it'd be a lot easier for you. So now looking at the other pattern we were working on, this little top pattern, I pointed a few of these, and let's see, we have 6 and 8. So we'll go through here. Their instructions look like this. A lot of the same keys, which is good. This is now a simplicity pattern, and so they don't have the S up here, but they also, this is the second of the 3rd page. Their keys look the same. Their shading is not as dark. This right here is lace overlay right there. This is, look, they're showing the stitching right here. That's 3 with right sides together. Stitch upper front to lower front, matching notches. So they're showing some kind of stitching there. That's interesting. And they're gonna just step by step right here. And then this is stay stitching too. You'll see this a lot in the beginning of a garment. The stay stitching, I have that also on the video. It's on here, number 5 right here, stay stitching. That is usually when you're sewing a single layer piece of fabric, like there's a neckline. Let's say you're going to sew it like about 1/2 inch. That stitch doesn't matter too much. You don't want to go past 5/8, and you don't want to do really short, like 1/4. So it's usually 3/8 or 1/2. And it is designed just so that the fabric doesn't stretch out while you're working on it. And then you're like, because when you're putting a facing on it, you might be pulling the actual neckline like that a little bit, and then it starts to stretch out because it's not on a length grain, it's cut this way, so that part of the fabric really stretches out. So if you stay stitch it, which is just a single simple stitch, that will keep it from preventing. You'll see that a lot in the beginning. It'll usually an arrow and a single stitch, stay stitch, and then the right side of the fabric, so you'll see that a lot. Then we have, again, now doing the shoulder seams, and then stay stitch the back. That's what it's saying here. And it will say for woven fabric, stay stitch, but for all fabrics with right sides together, stitch back at front. so with other fabrics, not to do it. I guess knits, they stretch anyway, so I haven't seen that one a lot. This is that understitch. This is showing how to do bias, but they'll do like a bubble right here, the understitch. And they'll say understitch by pressing tape and seam away from garment. So the pressing on understitching is key. So right here, so I would put pressing tape and seam away from the garment. So it's going towards the facing. Stitching through tape and seam allowances close to seam. So understitching is really key to getting a professional look to your garment, so the facing doesn't roll out, so it just lays in really good. And I find my students they have to do it several times for them to really understand it, and when they first see that, they totally know what it is, because they always forget by the time they get to the next pattern right there. So number 6 right here is the one I did a bullet on right here. So all of that says open out one edge of single fold bias tape with right sides together, pin tape to neck edge having raw edges even, and tape extending slightly beyond front edges. So I don't know if you know what bias tape is, but it's that stretchy, it's cut on the bias, and it has a natural stretch to it. It's not too much, not too little, and they use it a lot for finishing off a sleeve edge or neck edge. It's just like a little tape, it rolls in. It comes in different widths. So this is just showing you how to do that. So it says all that, and then it says, I would bullet point because it's all right here. It says stitch in 3/8 of an inch. So where they said it right here was here, and then trim seam right there, and then clip curve. So stitch right there. I put a bullet right there. Trim and clip curves like that. So that's the steps in there. Clipping the curves. These are little tiny. So they show it right there. They show the little notch right there showing the clipped curves. Okay, then we're going to go to 8. This one looks confusing. It's all 8 illustrations on right side out. They're showing you what it looks like at this point before it gets rolled over. That's why these get confusing too. They try to show you what it looks like before and after, all in one sketch. Then it's number 9. It shows this whole thing right here. I think that says stitch center front, press center open, tack seam allowance. Those little stitches right there is the tack part. So that would be hand stitching tack. So right here I've got 8. So it looks kind of bulleted right here. Turn tape to inside right there. Then it says press here, but then it says baste close to neck edge. So I would go press, then baste right there. Then on outside top stitches basted, that's good. And here trim edges with front edges. So it's all there. So I would just separate the press and the baste. And those are the 2 things that most people skip over. So just kind of circle those. You could even go through your whole instructions and circle all the baste word in blue and all the press in red. Right there would probably stop you in your tracks. And then you'd go through it. So then it goes through all of that. So those are, I think the key to all this is really blocking this out, kind of pre-reading it, and just until you get used to these. And if you ever go into a really difficult pattern, definitely pre-read these. I'll go through and go like, okay, what are they going to do? Because sometimes you'll go, oh, okay, we're doing this because then like 5 steps later, we're doing this. So a lot of times it's like, why? Why? So the trick to reading a pattern is really just reading it and deciphering it, cutting it into chunks, bullet pointing it, going, okay. And then knowing the terminology. that will help a lot. I'm like, okay, right here I'm going to be edge stitching. Right here, let's see, right here I'm going to do, I've seen the stitch in the ditch. Right here we're going to clip the curves. Right here we're going to gather stitch, that kind of stuff. So just know that you're not going to be great at it right away. You just, every pattern instruction that you do, it gets a little easier. Well, there you have it. Instructions. Just look at it as not as daunting as you think, because you look at that and go, what the heck? But if you just take section by section, you block it out, then you know the terminology, know the words, know what, little things that they're saying mean and how to do it. You could even do, one day if you had a lot of free time, doing, like getting muslin and, doing a little sample of understitching, doing a little sample of top stitching, and then keep a little file like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Get yourself a good book. This is the Vogue sewing book. Make sure, see if it has an index in it. Because I know this one, I would always go, okay, what's understitching? And I would look, understitching, be like, okay, understitching, page, there's 3 pages on it. Well, 3 sections. And I'd go there and I'd read it and I'd see their illustrations, see how they're showing how to do it, and then also how the instructions are showing how to do it, and then picking out the best one. So which one you understand the most. So sewing is a lot of, trial and error, and you don't learn without making mistakes. It's in the mistakes that you learn, oh yeah, not to do that again. Or I remember when I did that. And then every time I get to a section, I go, oh, I remember when I did that. So I'm not going to do that again. Also, when you first start sewing, don't go getting really expensive fabric. And if you do have expensive fabric, make a muslin of it. It's called a toil, just like a sample on it, even if the simplest things sometimes, because you might find you don't like it and you're like, you could actually just do a whole sample in muslin if you're really wanting to learn how to construct a garment. Instead, if you're just really in it just to make that garment, then you're probably going to skip the muslin. But if you really want to learn to sew, you might do some muslins on it and just learn on each step, and then you can write it down. Here I understitched, here was pressing the darts inwards, here is the, where the belt carriers went. I had a line on there like that. So that really, every time you do something, it helps. I remember when I first learned how to sew, it was, if I repeated something, if I made a skirt and then I did the same exact skirt, right after, a week or so later, it really made a lot more sense, because it's like a pancake. The first pancake never turns out well. The second pancakes and beyond, they always seem to be perfect like that. So a lot of this is just reading the pattern, learning where the bullet points out, and knowing the terminology, what they're telling you to do, because they can't put everything onto these sheets. You would have a book on there, and then you still would be confused, because then it would look too much right there. So think about if you had to write these instructions, how would you tell somebody to take fabric here and right sides together and this and that, and also tell people that maybe they don't know how to sew that well and they really get lost. So my whole thing with sewing with my students is for them not to get frustrated, because with frustration they quit. So I like to just get the easy patterns, work your way up, find a learn to sew pattern, or just look through it, see if it kind of speaks to you a little bit, and then get yourself a good book. YouTube, make sure you find somebody who knows what they're doing. You can watch mine. I pretty much know what I'm doing, although we all say that, right? So, but you know me now. So I'm hoping that you now have an understanding of how a pattern works, right? How to read the instructions. Where are all these secret words, right? So it's just about reading the patterns. So this is the end of our 3-part series on how to read a pattern. I'm hoping you made it all the way through the videos. Think about where you started. Pattern envelopes that didn't make sense, pieces that felt confusing, instructions that felt overwhelming. Now you can read all of it. That's the difference. Not talent, clarity. If you can read a pattern, you can make anything. Most people think they can't read a pattern, but that's not true. They've just never been shown how. I'm Chanel from Future Fashion Designers Sewing School. Now it's your turn to go make something you're proud of. If you'd like to own this online class all in one place, you can find it on our website under the online classes. It's futurefashiondesigners.com. Look for the online class tab. And I will also add the link down below so it's easier to find. Well, thanks for taking this journey with me. I sure hope you learned a lot and you're ready to tackle any pattern out there. And I'll see ya in the fabric stores.